Kata, Izabella, and Anne Ferris. How you doing, guys?
Amazing.
Well,
Excellent. Starting with Kata, do you want to do an introduction, please?
yeah, I'm Catherine or Kata Phipps. I am mom, a clinical psychologist, a seven-figure seller, a friend of you all, and a Titan leader as well.
Excellent. And to you, Izabella.
Hi, everyone. Izabella Hamilton. I own this little tiny service called Rank Bell, who helps quite a lot of sellers. Tiny service, a lot of sellers. We do it with, the utmost pleasure and love. And I've been in the Amazon game for over 5 years. But what I love most and what Danny brought me here on today is talk about mindset, because I feel like that's so important in our lives. So,
Yep, sounds good. Anne, intro, please.
Hello, I'm Anne. I am a former corporate lawyer turned entrepreneur. I live in Costa Rica, and I am really excited to talk about my favorite thing in the whole world today, which is books.
Excellent. Yeah. So title of the show is Books That Changed Your Life. So we'll go around the room. This is going to be like a mini series where we get guests on and they can discuss the effects on their life. What we'll do is let's start with you, Belle. You're going to cover, let me see, Think and Grow Rich. Is that right?
yes,
All right. So the synopsis here is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill examines the psychology, power of thought, and the brain in the process of furthering your career, both monetary and personal satisfaction, and is originally published in 1937. It's one of the all-time top classics in self-help books and a must-read for investors and entrepreneurial types. So do you want to just give me an understanding, for those who haven't read it, what is the book about?
Sure. So just as the book's name is Think and Grow Rich, it focuses a lot on our thinking and our decisions and how we live our life based on our thoughts. So I'll just give you a small intro on how I came about this book. So for most of you that know me, they know I'm from Romania. We didn't really have access to a lot of knowledge back then. And now of course it opened up to a lot more. I see a lot of people reading and discussing books that even we are discussing here in US, but back then it wasn't like this. So when I grew up, I kind of discovered the principles of this books myself. And it was just with little things, as in like making a wish and it coming true. So of course I didn't know there's an actual science behind it. And of course, when I found out that there's an actual science behind it, I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. This actually exists and it works. So my main goal when I was young was to come to the US. And even though it might not seem like a big deal for those who already live here, but for me it was just one of my biggest dreams, and I held that desire in my head for so many years that it became true. And then when it did, I noticed small little things that I would think about that they would also come true. So when I finally found this book, I was like, oh my God, this is my life. So what Napoleon Hill talks about in this book is, it's what I love about it is not that it focuses necessarily on like how to get rich, but it focuses on the psychological barriers that like prevent people from achieving their goals. And that's what I love about it, because it breaks it down. It talks about desire and how you have to have that burning desire to actually achieve your goals. It's not just wishing it, because I know a lot of people have read The Secret, and I have too, and I have big admiration for that book and absolutely love it, but it doesn't really go into that detail of how you can make your dreams come true. And I think desire is one of those very important factors that you have to have when going to achieve one of your goals. So for me, Romania, being there, all I could dream of was to move to the United States. But it wasn't just a dream. I had a burning desire. It was like in my head all the time. Like that's all I could think about. I had one goal and one goal only. And then of course it goes into other principles we can talk about later. But that's the main idea of this book.
Cool. I'm just going to quickly say some hellos and then I'll ask you other questions as well. Sharon's here. It says, hi, all. Qasim's here. Good morning. Tiff's back. Good morning. Vincenzo is here. Hello there. Wish you all a great weekend. Facebook user says, oh, okay. Looking for this. Thanks, Danny McMillan. Then in the feed, we've got Kevin. Lee Rand's here. He'll be on next week. McLean is here as well. Who else have we got? Juan is here. And I mentioned Vincenzo as well. Okay, so give me some Thunderbolt moments. You reading this book very first time. Picture that period where you got this book, you started going through it, and it built up and it built up. Tell me about an action that you took because of that book that changed things.
So once I figure out that this was actually real and it was made up, I was able to take those steps and really put them towards everything in my life. So one of the things that this book covers is persistence. You really must have persistence because we're so easily swayed by different things, by shiny objects. And I do this even now sometimes, but then I come back to my principles and my core and what is it that I really want. So when it comes to business, we all face so many different problems almost daily with Amazon, and it's so easy for people to give up. And that's why they say, so many entrepreneurs and so many small business owners, they give up because they're not really persistent. They meet these roadblocks and they'll say, okay, you know what, I'm done. This is too much. This is too hard. But when you cross that threshold from going to, okay, I can do this, to, okay, let me give it one more shot, and never stopping that. Doesn't matter how hard it gets. That is when you achieve maximum success in your life, whatever that may be. For some people, success is just, maybe having, that income.
Having a young family and,
yes, exactly.
Buying a house, and they are happy with that. Yeah.
Yes, but persistence is what brings me to do this every single day. And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, this is why we're so close together, because we all have this in our head. We can never give up. And what's beautiful about this is that we have our own community, which also Napoleon Hill talks about, having your own mastermind. And I think this is it, having that community looking up to you, Danny, doing all these episodes all the time makes me, want to do more. So I think for those who have not found their tribe, and to be able to persist. So persistence, I would say, is number one.
Excellent. And what about in terms of financial literacy? Being from Romania, did you get that education from within the family? Because sometimes I'm going to talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad at some point, and that is about financial literacy. And I was never taught that as a child. I grew up and learned that from books way later. And that's why I invest that time explaining over and over again to my daughter so she gets understanding of financial literacy at the age of 14. What impact did it have culturally on you? Were you educated in that way? Did you know you wanted to do what you wanted to do, or did you have to find out later? And was your parents educating you in that way?
Yeah, so no, I did not have that. Well, maybe just a tiny bit of it. So in Romania, we all grew up kind of like average. I mean, I don't want to say like poor because we were not on the street. We all had, a home, luckily, but we did not have that, looking up at somebody and saying, wow, that person is really successful. I can follow in their steps and do this. So I had to kind of discover myself. And this is where even today I find myself having some issues at some point because I did not have this type of training. Like, I'm not really an expert at, creating financial plans and all this, but, slowly and learning myself and wanting to learn. And again, this is very, very important. You have to want this for yourself because nobody can want it for you. So I could sit and cry and say, well, nobody taught me in media business. Nobody, I didn't have a role model for this. I could cry about it and then nothing will happen. Or I could say, okay, I did not have that opportunity to learn, but I am here where, we have everything. I have access to internet. I have access to books and to millions of books. And you have the opportunity to learn if you want to. So if you have that desire, the passion to learn, you can really learn anything. And again, I make mistakes all the time, and then I learn from them. But no, I did not have per se that financial literacy that you are talking about. I had to kind of discover it myself.
So it was for you, for put into more solid words, would you have said like you had a lack of a role model? You had family as role models, but external role models. It wasn't something that everyone looked to. You didn't go, oh, look at that person over there. That's where I want to go to. That wasn't on the table at the time.
No, and when I looked at, I was so obsessed and focused to coming to this country that there was nothing else that could take away from that. So I didn't even try to look for different ways to stay there, to say, okay, I want to be that person. No, I knew that once I got to America, like all my problems would be
solved. Yeah.
And, and of course, once I landed here, I was like, oh, well, then you have all these other issues to deal with. But for me, that was my main goal. And that's all I wanted. Like, nobody swaying me away from that goal.
So finally, if you was to sell that book to someone and pitch it to them, what would you say?
I would say this book will really open up your mind to possibilities that you did not think exist. So I guess that's how I would sell it.
Excellent. I'll bring you ladies in as well. Anne, have you read the book at all?
I did. I actually read it. It was a friend of mine here in Costa Rica who I found out about selling on Amazon from, and he said, read Think and Grow Rich. And I read it. And that actually was probably my first mindset and motivational book that I read. I've always been a huge reader, but it was a lot about I read a lot of
an entry point book or something
but not so much learning about either business or kind of personal development. And I remember reading it, and I was just starting the Amazon course. And in the first chapter, you're supposed to write down your actual financial goals and where you want to be. And I remember writing that I wanted to be selling. I thought, what do I need to be comfortable and not, have to worry about my income? And I wanted to be keeping $10,000 a month. And so my goal that I wrote was to be selling $50,000 a month on Amazon by January 2020. I started in 2017. And I smashed that goal in 6 months. But I think it's a great start, and it's awesome that it was written so long ago.
And still relevant.
This stuff doesn't change. What Tony Robbins teaches, it's basically the same thing. It's getting your head in the game and allowing yourself to dream and dream big, and then put those plans into action. I mean, mastermind, everybody's masterminding now. It's super trendy, but super useful as well. And Napoleon Hill, and I think that was the first time it was ever used, that term was in Think and Grow Rich, about masterminding.
Kat, have you got anything you want to add about the book? Have you read it?
No, I did not. I just
Shame on
came
you.
into business almost by accident.
Yeah.
No, the truth is, I'm always being very scared of every word that involves reach. I've always been after wealth, and because English is not my first language, I'm very, very anal about that's not actually what it means. Reach is related to money. Wealth is related to everything else. I want wealth.
Yeah.
No, really. I didn't read it just because of that, I think. But what you were describing, actually, I think it translates to many of books, whether they are business, or not, business related or not. A lot of people are looking for that, and we all have, in some way or manner, this thought of what are we going to grow to achieve that's material, that we can actually purchase. Yeah. And it's only through that journey that we discover that actually we might, I still want material things. I still had my dream car down in my dishwasher.
A Maserati.
And that view you got there is not bad over your shoulder either, is it? In the new home.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there has to be a balance. So, but yeah, I am going to read it now because Izabella just sold
it to you, yeah. All right, and Anne, what book we're going to cover from your artillery?
Okay, so the question was like books that changed your life. And this book really had a massive impact on my life. And I think it kind of really applies to people who are on an entrepreneurial journey or who are thinking about starting one. So for me, my book is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And it is a spiritual book, but I actually kind of didn't take the lesson in a spiritual way when I was 17 when I read it. It's also a book that you can read in a day. It's really short. But basically, for me, I read this book. A lot of people don't know, but I dropped out of high school and I was dating a stupid guy who was doing nothing and acting like a stupid girl. But the reason that I dropped out, I always did super well in school, but I got to this like rebellious stage. And in my life, I've kind of always been rebelling against something. And sometimes I've been a rebel with a cause. At that point in my life, I was a rebel without a cause. Like I just was angry and I thought, I don't want to do what everybody's doing. You know, everybody's going to school, fuck school. I'm not doing that. And I read Siddhartha and basically in the book, it's a young man who comes from a religious family and he leaves and he goes on this journey about, you know, finding his spirituality because he didn't find God, like that real connection that he wanted where he was. And then he goes and he tries it, you know, in like a physical way, in a hedonistic way with a woman. Well, I'm kind of going to spoil it, but in the end, he finds it basically kind of in nature. He meets this guy and he's really happy. Like he can see in his face that he is like, he's got it on the inside, you know, and he asked the man, and this guy just said, you know, one day I came to this place and I just found happiness. I actually have a river on my arm, and that's kind of the whole reason I always wanted to have a river tattoo because that book affected me so much. And so the lesson of the book is that basically you can find your happiness, your path, or your God, your spirituality, wherever. It doesn't matter if it's where somebody tells you it should be or where somebody tells you, you know, or where it's not. And for me at that moment, I was at a place in my life where I could choose one path going absolutely nowhere or the other path. And I just realized it was like, it was one of those things I read it when I needed it, you know, like, and the light went off and I thought like, this is so stupid. I love school. Like, why am I so angry at everybody? And I just really committed to like finding the things that made me happy and accepting that a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do wasn't what other people wanted from me. And that was okay. And so, you know, I went back to school, went to college, got straight A's, got a master's from Oxford, had fun. And then now I don't use any of that education in my daily life. But yeah, that the message of that book for me was just, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, we're all doing something different than most of the people that we know are doing. And that's kind of scary. And we think most people, the reason if we get shit for it, it's because people are nervous. And they're like, why would you do that? Or it's something that they would want to do, but they don't have the balls to do it. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have the balls either. But it's not about anyone else. Your journey is your journey. And what you want out of life is what's going to make you happy is individual to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So effectively what you're looking at is that in the earlier days is that because you want to do stuff different, that made you different from the crowd, then it's looking to maybe find that acceptance. But then you realize, actually, I don't need to find acceptance from others. I just need to accept within, and I'm good with that. But it takes a bit of time of maturity to get there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Name one or two things that from that book that determines you from that book. So something that happened, an experience. I know that you mentioned that you went to university and stuff like that, but what's a standout moment that reflects back on that book?
Well, I think at the time, I mean, I literally read it and went back to school, and all of my college essays, because actually this was the question they asked, one of the options is a book that changed your life. And I wrote every single essay about this book. And I think now in my daily life, I think when you start as an entrepreneur, you know, the first part is the grind. And then once you get to a stable place, I think most of us go on a journey of like how to optimize. First you optimize your business, and then it's like, how do I optimize myself?
Yeah.
And that is not just doing business things, because it has to be your mindset. You have to be happy. You have to believe in yourself. You know, Tony Robbins says all the time, it's like the journey starts within. So you have to get to a place where you believe in what you're doing, that it's not just making money. It's, you know, either providing for your family, being home more with your kids, serving the people that are your customers, and then also believing that you can do it. And I think especially for women starting out, you know, that's kind of one of the systemic things that we're taught, is like that we shouldn't go too far from the norm, you know, that we're the people who play it safe and take care of everybody. And then it's not the thing that we do to like, you know, to have, it's like considered ego if we're going to like, I can do this. I can make a big difference. I can make a shit ton of money. You know, for us to say that to ourselves, and I think there's a lot of this in Think and Grow Rich, but, you know, for women, especially to say that to ourselves, it feels awkward. It still feels awkward to me, you know, and I'm almost 40 and I've been doing this for a long time and I've been really successful. And it still feels weird to me to say, I'm going to keep going and like, I'm good at this and I'm going to kick ass and I'm going to grow, you know, this much. It still feels weird. So I think that I do remind myself actually of that book a lot, that my path and where I find spirituality, and I do some really weird spiritual stuff, you know, and people think I'm weird because of it. And it's like, you know, that's cool. You can think I'm weird, you know, and I can think you're weird, but it's all good. We can all be weird together. We can all be weird and amazing.
Cool. So pitch me the book. If you were to sell that book to me or someone else.
I think that it's a book that will really open your mind to the possibilities of all the things that can make you happy, and you can read it in a day.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Excellent. Does anyone want to add anything here? Have you guys read this book?
I haven't, but
shame on you. Shame. It only took a day. Shame on you.
I would love to read it, but I love everything that you mentioned, and it's you know, all these books that we read, they all have this like essence a little bit behind it that like helps us see more. Like you're saying, you know, you can find happiness in you know, within and everything that you do, and I absolutely love that, because I, like you, and you know, I'm pretty much obsessed with like developing myself, you know, reaching financial goals. And for a lot of people, that's still weird. That's still like, oh my God, you can't say you love money. I say it very easily. Of course, you know, coming from Romania, I was taught, don't speak up, don't ever mention money. Don't, like, I was taught, like, ingrained with this message. So for me, it took a lot of work and a lot of years for me to be able to sit in front of people and say, I love money without feeling like shit, you know? So, you know, when you really have that confidence within yourself, like, many doors open up. So now I easily say, I love money, I love freedom, I love everything that I do. And the more I say it, the more I feel like the universe conspires with me to bring me everything that I want. So even though I haven't read the book, I will read it. It still feels true to me. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because I'm always looking to expand my my mind. So thank you.
Kata, do you want to add anything regarding this book?
Well, it is what Izabella is saying is very true. I live the same, because I moved from a country where this week, for instance, you get a new car and you drive to your cousins and your cousins' friends and you honk and you show off, and it's not showing off. is sharing, and they're truly happy for you. Anne must live something like this in Costa Rica as well. It's a culture that embraces success, where the amount of friends I've lost over being successful has been well, it's a blessing in disguise, but it's been shocking. It's like people, they say your true friends when you're not doing well. I think actually you really truly know who your true friends are when you
you're
are
up.
being successful.
Yeah.
Because that rubs people in the wrong way. And the fact that Bella can say, I own it and I'm not ashamed of it, that's empowering. And it's just the way it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You should be able to share both ends of the stick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
Also, it's about kind of getting clear on what really makes you happy, and knowing that that's okay. So if financial stability or like really financial abundance really makes you happy, that's okay. If it for me, what makes me really happy is like time in nature and time with my kids. And I know that, and I am really protective of that time. So even if I have shitloads of stuff to do for my business, I remind myself, I don't do this so that I can sit in front of my computer 24 hours a day. And I work way less than I think a lot of people in my position do. But what doing that does, finding the thing that makes me happy, being outside, being with my kids, also opens up the creative side. You can't be creative and think outside the box and come up with new ideas and new connections and new ways to do things if you're miserable. And so if you work effectively in the time that you're working, but do the things that really make you happy, then your creativity, your like inner light is going to shine. And that's what your business needs. I mean, there's two parts to it, and you can read all the technical books and do all the courses and have amazing PPC. But if your creative side of it isn't there, then you're just like every other seller,
Yeah, that makes sense. Kata, what's the book you'd like to cover?
Well, I was going to talk about how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
But actually, the book that truly changed my life is something that I read as a child and it still applies. And it's amazing how it applies to business. And it's called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I think is the English name for it, by Richard Bach, who was a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about this book that was amazing is that at the time, I did feel a little out of place because I wanted greater things. And my dad, I come from a family that I wasn't born to wealth. My dad was the security guard of the company that he's now the president. So he literally over 30 plus years worked his way up and he's a national water company. From being the security guard, just observing and learning how you do to pick up the phones, to move into an office, to move into maybe cleaning the office, I don't know. But just seeing that path, that how can you make it, literally grind your way to the top, whether you had the education or not, and pick up. It was just, he gave me this book because I used to love reading. And this book is basically about a seagull who thinks that flying just for flying and just eating the fish every day is not enough. It's not exciting enough. So it gets outcasted from the flock and he gets sent out to fly on his own because he's just too crazy, too acrobatic, too everything. He was trying to push boundaries. And for me, it makes so much sense that someone else in the world could present this novelty of, a potential life where you can actually break that mold. You could be something completely different. And even if you are outcasted, you can still be happy. And this seagull is amazing because it's a children's book. I mean, it's a book that anyone can read. I read it as a child. What I love about it is that my daughter read it not long ago. And she was very impressed by the fact that like, everyone can be different, but everyone can figure out what is it that you really enjoy doing. And the cool thing about it is that it's so clever because it's written in a manner that it talks about all the journey from, am I just being weird? Should I feel, sort of should I be aware that the problem is me because everyone else is, trying to comply, and I'm the one that's being shamed, and my family is ashamed of me, and I'm just doing things differently, and I'm lonely. And it goes through the journey that a lot of people that are different go, which is the self-doubt, the growth, this is leading something. Oh, actually people are starting to emulate what I'm doing. Oh, actually people are looking up to me now. Oh, actually people are looking up too much to me now and not actually doing, but venerating what I've done. And then takes the horse, and it comes to the point where how do you deal with success? How do you stay humble? And how do you go back to the beginning where you forgot that you were just doing it for fun, that you just wanted to fly and be crazy up in the air for fun? And I love it because it truly gives you such a beautiful analogy of how becoming a successful business person is really. And I think that if we really are going to educate the new generation into thinking outside the box and pushing the boundaries and working hard and persistent but fairly, just so they can find the true self at an earlier stage that perhaps we did it. This book is just fantastic, and it's just, again, it's such a short book. You can also read it in a day, and it's beautiful, and I can't recommend it enough. And everybody should give a copy to their kids and read it themselves, because it's actually fun.
What was the standout from that book? Obviously, you've gone through the book, but what was the standout where you actually put that into action? Give me a time capsule, a period in time, reading that book, and then you took action on the book. What was that action?
So I actually still go back and read it when I feel that I need it, and it's often the time when, like Anne mentioned, I realize that I'm stressing over things that I shouldn't be stressing, that I'm not being true to myself, I'm not being the visionary within my business, that I am unhappy. That book very simply lay out, when you realize that you're not happy, it's pointless. It becomes smooth in a way. Yeah. Why are you doing what you're doing if you're not bringing you joy, right? So just to have that kind of daily reminder of how high did I score on my, I wanted to feel this way today. These were my goals. Did I achieve them? If I had a big smile on my face and I made someone else smile, for me, that I'm done. But I mean, I'm really strong, and some days I really struggle, and I can be a bit bitchy with the people I work with me, especially because I work with my husband. So and then I realized that I'm loved because she's been a witness of it. And then I'm like, this is not fun, and it should be fun, or else I'll still be a clinical psychologist and I'll have my practice with the words. A lot of fun, because then other people got to cry to me and pay me for it. It's like, I want to be happy, but within that happiness there is this freedom, and within that freedom is staying grounded and just those little things, the sunflowers that bring you happiness. Oh my God, the weather is nice today. Oh my God, I live in England and there is sunshine. It's like reflecting.
Yeah, that's just fleeting. No, that'll be gone tomorrow. Don't you worry.
Reflecting on the little things is so important and so overlooked. So overlooked. And the simplicity of that book is a beauty. And there is no point of us anyway having a great life if we're not going to form the generation to follow us onto having that better life as well from the very beginning. Like, we're going to educate them since they're little, right? Because the school system, I know you have very strong feelings about it too, Danny.
Hate school system, yeah.
They don't cover these things. They don't teach you to break out of the flock.
No.
They just tell you
they don't teach you to solve problems.
Way and dive, get the fish, come back up, right? Yeah. They outcast you. So, I suppose we're all a bit of a rebel in a way.
Yeah.
And
I think we all are as entrepreneurs. Yeah. Bella, you got anything you would like to add here?
Oh, Kata, that's such a great summary of that book. I've never read it, but of course now I want to get a copy and read it to my 4-year-old. So I started doing these, affirmations with him. Every day, we say, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I can do anything, I'm blessed, I'm happy, you name it. And he started doing it himself. And it's because of what you just mentioned, because, they don't teach this in school. And, it's really it's weird to say, but it's almost like it's not their job. Like, we as parents, we have to fill in that role that teachers cannot. Even though I'm sure there are some teachers out there who are open-minded, who do think like this, but maybe the system doesn't let them show this to children. So it is our job to make sure they know that they are powerful, that they can do and they can become anything and everything they want. And sometimes I do worry because I grew up very poor, and then I became successful through my own means, and I want my son to be able to do that for himself. But in a way, it's like, how do you do that if you haven't grown up in a tough situation? So I'm trying to find ways from now, when he's very young, to learn this without having to suffer what I've suffered. So these are some things that I am doing to prevent that and to helping go in the right direction. So I think this is a great book, and I cannot wait to read it myself. And like Danny said, I think we're all seagulls. All entrepreneurs are that. We do like to stray away from the norm, and it's what makes us so unique and so like passionate about what we do.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Dog's barking in the background. Got a family arriving for dinner. Anne, would you like to add anything here before we go?
I haven't read that book or heard of it, so I'm really excited. And for sure, I'm a mom of two, and it is really important to me. I mean, I have really amazing parents, but they definitely grew up in the system, and it was like an expectation of me to be in the system. And I think I never felt that even though actually in the end they have been incredibly supportive, but I never felt that it would be okay to I never felt it was okay to be different. I was always different, and I was always loony and always dreaming, but I never felt that was okay. And so the biggest thing for sure that I want to teach my children, not that I want to teach them, that I want to show them and really have ingrained in their souls, is that whatever you want is okay. And I think, another thing that is missing in our school system is teaching kids to really discover their passion. Because if you're passionate about something, that's when you're going to move forward. I think all of us, one of the things we're really passionate about is learning. And I think you have to be an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you're learning about, but you're not going to, if you're passionate about music, finding the ways that you can turn that into something, but really exploring that it's not just school. It's not just, can you get an A on this test, but finding what it is that you're passionate about that is going to make you a dreamer. And then realize, then knowing it's okay to dream, because, and you should dream big, and you should, aside from dreams, turn those into then goals and action.
Makes sense. Okay. Kat, what is the best way that people can reach you if they want to get in touch?
Kata, Kata, at titanmembers.com.
Excellent. Izabella?
Just Izabella Hamilton on Facebook. I'm pretty much always there, so that will be the easiest.
And you, Anne?
I laugh every time I say it, but it's so me. On Instagram at moondancer.puravida.
Excellent. Right, guys, thank you for joining us this Sunday. I'm sure I'll see you guys very soon. Enjoy the weather. I'll see you all soon. I'll be back here 4 p.m. BST. Thank you for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Stay home, stay safe. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.